Welcome to On the Beat, where we bring you a different Buffalo Bills beat reporter every week, exclusively on the Overreaction Sports Network.
Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into this episode of On the Beat on the Overreaction Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. This is a show where we bring you a different Buffalo Bills beat reporter or Bills media personality every single week, as Bruce Nolan, just on the intro, just told you. And please do us a favor. Please like and subscribe, whatever platform you are consuming this presentation on, whether it's live right now on YouTube, or if it's in podcast form in post. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. Love to have you follow me. I do like to interact and all that good stuff. Just be nice, Twitter etiquette. But today we are excited to have longtime Buffalo sports personality. I was just telling him decades of my life reading his stuff from the Athletic, Tim Graham. Tim, welcome, my friend. And how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. That's one of those hollow questions you say at the beginning of a conversation, and you know how I'm doing today. So, we can, I'm transparent. I'm having a procedure done tomorrow, and there is some things that have to happen before the procedure. And I'm just scrambling a little bit while also being a little porky.
Yeah, it's odd that whenever those types, and I'm 52, so I'm getting up there in age as well, and the amount of things that testing and this and that and procedures, it's always the pre-work that has to be done, whether it's fasting or gallons of water or weird teas. It's just what do we do? Can't I just go to the doctor and not have to wait 35 minutes when my appointment was at 10 o'clock? I think we could probably all complain, but it could be worse. It could be worse. We could not have.
I'm in the market for a witch doctor. Let's get it over with. You go in, there's some incense and some chanting, and then I'm on my way.
That's funny. There's certain procedures as it pertains to not witch doctor, but I've told my wife, it's there's certain things that if they ever have to happen to me, I'd rather you just let me go. Do not resuscitate. It's and I'm not going to get into them, but I'm not afraid of doctors. I have a high pain tolerance. I don't know why we're talking about this, but there's just certain things that it's I don't want that. I don't want my chest bone cracked open. I don't need that in my life. And I've got young friends that have had triple bypasses at 42, and I'm just and they're fine now, but I'm just oh, that's not true. If I hug them a little too tight 5 years post triple bypass, they're still a little bit a little sore. But yeah, this is the type of stuff, and there's other things too that I won't mention, but maybe the witch doctor is the better way to go, right? They can just get one of those dolls, and I don't even know. But anyways, we digress from that type of speak, but it's great to have you on the program. First time, hopefully not the last time. Just so you're familiar with the format, we do about 20-25 minutes. Just gonna have some conversational talk around just what's going on with the Bills coming off of that absolutely poor performance that was duplicated from last year's poor performance against the Bears. Week 2 in the preseason. Talk about some of the news today. To that point, the news today, Jordan Schultz, NFL Insider, is reporting that Gabe Davis is going to be visiting Buffalo. Any overarching thoughts before I kind of dig into that a little bit from you?
Okay. Gabriel Davis, he, for whether it be scheme or his own performance or Josh Allen's preference, whatever it was, it just didn't work. There were those long periods of time where we just didn't see anything out of Gabriel Davis. And yes, he'll have an explosive game, and 4 touchdowns in the playoffs against the Chiefs is what really everybody got excited about. But then the Bills win big while he's getting 0 targets or 1 target out of double-digit games that last season with the Bills. He was just not used at all. And of course, he wasn't going to be worth whatever somebody was willing to pay him on the open market, which is the big contract he got from Jacksonville. But then the Jaguars soon have buyer's remorse and let him go. And there's a reason that here on August 19th, he has no team, and he's been making visits. It's not like he's just sitting back, playing the long game and playing chess with his contract. I mean, this guy wants a job,
right?
And nobody seems to be willing to give him one. So if the Bills were to sign him, Obviously, you're looking at a small contract, something that is not going to be of any risk for the front office. There's not going to be any good friend discount, or I should say the other way around, a good friend bonus to get him here. The Bills aren't competing with other teams for his services. And, the thing that's interesting, and we can get into the discussion about what an insider is, by the way. Jordan Schultz does qualify as an insider. That term really gets thrown around a lot, pretty liberally. Even in the local market, you hear somebody called Bill's Insider who hasn't broken a story in, ever. But I'm an insider. No, I think insider requires you to do a little bit more than observe the news conferences,
Right.
But anyways, same thing with the NFL insider, fill in the blank. And it's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, there's a big difference between somebody piggybacking off of somebody else's story and when you're watching Good Morning Football and Ian Rappaport is like picking up his phone and like, hang on a second.
Yes, that's right. Those guys are actually getting real time news. And Jordan, fun little, confrontation. Speaking of Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport at the combine. Anyway. Gabriel Davis. I would rather see the Bills concentrate. Although, look, you can do multiple things at once. You can try out receivers while also looking at safeties. I don't know that the Bills are so desperate that they, for help at receiver, that Gabriel Davis is any kind of answer for them. If they sign him, that must mean they see some value and the ability to fill in here. But I mean, haven't we just been talking recently about the Bills and their receivers and how there's going to be some difficult cuts, so to add Gabriel Davis to me, I don't know. I think it's one of those situations also where the familiarity is so deep that whatever the Bills do there, it's probably going to be the right call because they're prudent. They're not going to overpay. They know Gabriel Davis, whatever he does in the workout, they're going to see either a regression from the guy they used to have, or they're going to see some of those old traits. They sit him down. They're going to talk through him. They know him.
Right.
So whatever they decide to do, if they pass, then I'm confident it's the right call. If they sign him, I'm confident they're doing it for a good reason, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And it's weird. Well, I want to get into what's weird about it. Addressing the salary portion, it was reported the Jacksonville Jaguars are paying his salary still. So it would be like a vet minimum type of a deal.
Why is nobody signing him?
Well, he's been injured, right? He's been trying to work through whatever that injury was last year. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what his injury was. Buyer's remorse was the best thing you could have said as far as Jacksonville. And this is an MO for them, right? Overpaying guys, then moving on from guys, specifically the wide receiver position. I think what's strange for me is the Bills made other moves today. So you've got Grant DeBose getting signed, and then the Buffalo Bills released their 7th round draft pick, Caden Prather, before cutdown day. I know that he was struggling with a little bit of an injury a couple weeks ago, but you've also got Khalil Shakir, who coach said today has no setbacks. You've got Curtis Samuel, who was back today in a limited fashion. Obviously Elijah Moore has not necessarily impressed in preseason games, and there hasn't been a lot of buzz about him in camp or practices either. Joshua Palmer is the guy that the mafia has raved about, content creators have raved about, the media has raved about, and I have very strongly stood behind. Well, he couldn't do anything behind the two guys, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, when he was in the Chargers, and then Williams and Allen left, and he still didn't do anything. He got stuck behind Ladd McConkey, and now he's gone. What's weird is just, why are we having this conversation? Why is Gabe Davis coming to Buffalo? Why are you cutting your rookie wide receiver that's a 7th round pick that doesn't make it to cutdown date when guys are the whole thing is just strange to me.
Yeah, I agree. And then you can factor in Laviska Shenault also, who hasn't really been a receiver for a couple of years, but was and a very productive one earlier in his career. So he factors in. You raise some good points that I think and we all fall into that trap, myself included. So I'm not being critical. I'm being self-critical, I guess, or at least self-aware when I'm about to say, but the new guys are always exciting. Mm-hmm. It's always Elijah Moore is exciting. And you said that there hasn't been a lot of buzz around him. I think that's true. especially people who've watched the practices or seen him. But I run into a lot of people who are excited about Elijah Moore, like the reclamation project, the Chase Claypool factor from last year. He was good once. He was a high draft pick. He has pedigree, like all these things that you could fit in with Elijah Moore. Well, he's also on his third team in 4 years. And KJ Hamler is pulling at the heartstrings. Everybody loves KJ Hamler now. And then, but is he really going to make the team? Is he,
Terrell Shavers, right?
Late in the game. Yeah. Shavers. Palmer is, to your point on Palmer. Yeah. If he was signed so early, therefore everybody tries to read the tea leaves on the new guy. They wanted him so badly that they signed him early. Therefore he must be good for us. Not so. And there are a lot of things going on that we don't know about and can't know about. Hard Knocks be damned. I mean, Hard Knocks doesn't, they could take you through we're not learning anything about what the decisions are. We're not seeing anything in the meetings. We don't know what goes on in walkthroughs or in the quiet moments where a team can so often lose faith in a guy or get excited about a guy. We just watch whatever that little bit that we can see on practice. And the media can't really be all comprehensive in its coverage because we can only look at various parts of the practice is spread out over 1.5 football fields. And to say that, hey, I've been out of practice every day and so, well, you're missing a lot. You miss so much just in that given practice. And then you don't see all the stuff that happens in the dorms, in the meeting rooms. And, there's so much we don't know and we'll never know. So at a point you have to take that little bit of information that you do have and make some sort of declaration regarding some of these players. So with Prather, it's a development for sure that a draft pick is now off the team in the middle of August. So it's, but what does it mean? And that's where we're sitting here trying to figure out something that sounds smart. What it means? I don't know. We don't know. There's only a handful of people who do.
I just don't know how it lines up. It'll be interesting to see and he's visiting the Steelers today, Tuesday. So there's a chance he doesn't make it to Buffalo. The second visit to Pittsburgh. There's rumors out there that this is just information trying to get the Steelers to sign him. Like, oh, he's coming to Buffalo. So the Steelers will have to pull the trigger and sign him, that he's not really coming to Buffalo. But Jordan Schultz, as you said, is a verified or qualified person to be leaking information. It'll be interesting to see what's funny about what you said about Hard Knocks. This Hard Knocks series for the Buffalo Bills has been very different than every other Hard Knocks. And I've watched most of them because they always focus on teams that are bad and rebuilding. So you get into the meeting room with Joe Shane when he's talking, like, before you make a decision, make me your last call, or, I can't see having my $40 million quarterback hand off to my $12 million running back. Like, you get that inside stuff. And the Buffalo one, we're not getting that. We're getting a lot of heartfelt, kind of like emotional tuggy. This team already knows what it's doing. We had the one scene last week where Bean is talking. They're watching film on Joe Andreessen, and Terry doesn't know who 44 is. I mean, we're not getting any of that. We're not getting Matt Ryan like coming off the field, like either at halftime or at the end, like using the F word because things aren't going right. Like, we're not getting any of that stuff. I don't know that we're gonna.
I don't think so. Something really crazy, I think, is going to have to happen that the Bills can't deny the NFL Films use. And I'm rummaging through my papers here because I have the list of all the teams that have been on it. And the last time a team that had at least 10 wins was on it was the 2013 Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm talking about the
I watched that one.
Yeah, I'm talking about the traditional training camp show, not the in-season stuff, because a couple of those include a division, and of course you're going to have a reigning division champion when you're talking about that. The last really good team was, and the Jets went to the AFC Championship game, and then that was the Revis holdout season and that whole thing. So that was 2010. That was the Rex year. 13-3 Dallas Cowboys in 2008. So yeah, you're dealing with teams that are in an identity transition. Even with Rex, that was his second year. Darrelle Revis, Mark Sanchez. You had the young quarterback who's trying to still convince his fan base that he's good enough. It never really did. Mark Sanchez was pretty good, but the weight was on him. They'd had Brett Favre before, and of course the Jets are always just filled with expectations, especially when they were pretty good and had the defense and everything. So yeah, you're dealing with so many teams that don't know who they are. The Dan Campbell Lions, last year's Chicago Bears, like they're still figuring it out. Like, who are we? What are we trying to be? Whether it be through their coach or their quarterback or other significant pieces. The Bills have had none of that, not only recently, but you can go back 5 years before it was probably before you thought you had curiosity about, are these guys going to stick? You got to go back a long ways before you can find some Bills key members that you weren't sure about. And yeah, I guess you can throw Ken Dorsey in there, but he's a bit player kind of the whole thing when you have a lineup that has Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs on it at the time.
Right.
Yeah, the characters, and I've said this over and over, and I've mentioned it out at training camp, and some people got a little prickly with me with the Bills, but two people were very happy that I said it. I said, I want your gut reaction. I asked Brandon Beane and Shawn McDermott this independently. I said, I want your gut reaction to what I'm about to say. Your team is dull. And McDermott just looked at me and smiled, like didn't say anything and just smiled like, he was kind of like, right. He's like, you like that,
Perfect.
And then I asked Bean that, and Bean was walking. He didn't even break stride. And he goes, so double fist pump. They want dull. They want dull. They want to eliminate distraction. They want everything to be routine. They want everything to be as expected. And so, for a really good team, for a contender, it was dull. They were dull last year, really. Yeah. I mean, without Diggs and there's so many things that have popped up, but they eliminate that stuff.
Right.
And I think that's what we're really seeing on Hard Knocks, is that this is a boring team by design.
Talking with Tim Graham from The Athletic, just about the Buffalo Bills current kind of just stuff that's going on in and on around the locker room. It's funny because as I was preparing just what we were going to talk about and conversationally and questions and things like that, what kind of popped into my head, and I haven't vetted it. This is literally just, stream of consciousness, if you will. But, the reality of the Buffalo Bills is literally Josh Allen. When you look at the wide receiver situation, not only this year, but last year, potentially, the safety situation, the defensive line, which you and I could probably talk about the defensive line. I bring it up all the time on this program as far as like the philosophy of rotating guys. 55% doesn't work, spending all your resources there. It hasn't worked the whole time. McDermott has been here. That's not where I'm going with this, but literally you look at Tom Brady and when he was, Tom Brady and in their prime, and like the wide receiver course he had and like who they had around him there. Mahomes, the last couple of years outside of Kelsey, as far as like kind of like who's on that team. You got Peyton Manning, who is a perennial 12 to 14 game winner. He's out one season. The team is awful, right? Because he's gone. And it just seems like the reality is literally we are living in that space now as Bills Mafia. And the question that I had is, what does this situation, the Buffalo Bills, look like if the guy behind center is Ryan Fitzpatrick or Trent Edwards right now?
Well,
right? I mean, we're back to effectively, I don't want to say the drought years, but I mean, there were some good teams where we had some good defenses. There were times we had
how are they getting to the playoffs? I mean,
right.
Sorry, Ryan and Trent, but Ryan spent his entire career and never made the playoffs. The guy retired after playing for 53 different teams and never made it to the playoffs. So as beloved as Ryan Fitzpatrick is, I'm not trying
to slam Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's just
nor am I. But I think we're talking about that's how great Josh Allen is.
Yes, that's how.
He got my vote last year. I mean, I vote for the Pro Football Writers version of the award. I don't vote for the large, the AP award, which is the accepted one.
Gotcha.
So I do vote. It wasn't my, so I vote for an award, and Josh Allen got my vote because of what he did with no supporting. Well, I don't want to say no supporting cast, but very little supporting cast. The supporting cast are those 5 5.5, 6 guys in front of him, right? Because they went with the 6th offensive lineman so often. He did it with Dalton Kincaid taking a step back. Dawson Knox, I know he's been to a Pro Bowl, finger quotes around that. Without Stephon Diggs, with all the fretting over, oh my God, what's Josh going to do? What they need receivers. Well, he proved you don't. And yes, James Cook had 16 touchdowns, but it's not like he carried the load because he played fewer snaps last year than he did in 2023.
Right.
So yeah, he scored touchdowns and it was the way he was used, but Josh Allen is the franchise.
Right.
And I think he's one of the most powerful people in sports. I think he's probably the most powerful person in the organization, not named Pagula. And that includes, you think about it. Is Patrick Mahomes the most powerful person in the Kansas City Chiefs organization? Probably not, believe it or not, because they have a head coach who's won Super Bowls.
Andy, right. Andy, gotcha.
Take it, Belichick, even with Brett, yeah, you can argue whatever, but Josh Allen if Josh Allen decided he wanted to start popping off tomorrow, now it's not in his makeup, but if he wanted to start popping off tomorrow about, I don't have this and I don't have that, and we better get our shit together, then all of a sudden Shawn McDermott's on the hot seat. We go from the safest coach in the NFL to, or we go to, sorry, and then trades are starting to happen. He's the most powerful guy in the organization.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Probably the most powerful guy in Western New York, as far as that goes. No, it's just the amount of errors that he corrects, or the amount of wrongs that he basically covers up, as far as that goes, with his talent, his ability, the focus that the other teams have to put on him throughout their week of preparation. It's a very cool space to live in, just to kind of begin to realize that we are in that space now where this team is Josh Allen. And on this network, so we give away dude awards after regular season games. So like, dude, great job, or dude, we got to talk, basically thumbs up, thumbs down. And we never give it to Josh Allen, because Josh Allen on this network is that dude. Like, that's what you just expect from him. He doesn't get the award because he is that dude. He's basically the award. Like, if you give like the dude award to James Cook, it's got a statue of Josh Allen on it.
You would have to go back to hero ball, like rookie second year Josh, to be like, come on. And he doesn't play that way anymore. But if he would revert into it for maybe a series or two,
right,
as recently as 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe even a half. Like maybe if you want to go 4 or 5, he would get that way where he just starts getting a little too wired, and he doesn't do that anymore. But I bet if he did, it would be for a damn good reason.
Yeah.
And it would be probably forgivable. It wouldn't be like, oh my God, there's Josh. Brett Favre did that throughout his career, right? Where you'd be like, what's with this guy? Josh has kind of eliminated that. He was, he doesn't do that anymore. Right. And that's really incredible. You talk about it, the throwing motion and getting rid of the interceptions and the completion percentage and all these things that people said weren't fixable. Of all the things that would be considered unfixable, that mentality of hero ball, to get that out of his system is probably the best adjustment the guy's ever made.
Yeah, it's incredible. A couple other quick questions for you as we're going to transition over to the safety room. But before we do that, why don't you tell everybody, Tim, where they can find your work and how they can catch up with you?
Well, I'm at The Athletic as a senior writer there, covering almost exclusively the Bills. Occasionally you'll see a different story out of me here and there. I have a podcast with Jonah Bronstein, Tim Graham and Friends, that runs roughly once a week, usually on Thursdays and Fridays. Every now and then we'll double up and do a two for Channel 4. I do the Bills pregame show for them. And what else? You know what? I was on a show recently, and I always forget to say this, and I'm proud of it. It's probably one of the things I'm proudest of, and I never leave it in because it's not covering things. And it's I teach sports journalism at Canisius University, and I do that in the spring semester. Fall makes it a little too tough with what the Bills are up to for me to do it in both semesters, but in the spring semester I do that. Been doing it for 15 years or so.
That's awesome. That's actually a whole entire show in the off season. I should have you back on and we can talk about just that, sports journalism, kind of like what goes into it for you guys, what you teach as far as like tricks of the trade. And that'd actually be a really fun episode. So after the season is over, I'll have you back before that, but even after the season is over during the downtime, we should probably have a conversation.
Maybe we'll find a way, because a lot of my students already do podcasts.
Hmm.
You know, we're talking about kids, you know, they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
their, you know, little things that they get going,
Yeah.
but they want to do that. And I think that podcasting is it's become a pillar
Hmm.
of sports journalism, that it's not just something you do on the side. It's meaningful. And so well, maybe there's something we could do where we actually podcast talking to the students
That'd be fun. That'd
and
be
we'll
fun.
teach them like what goes into, I don't know. We could do it. We don't have to do it on camera, but
Yeah.
or maybe we do. Maybe we put
Yeah.
them on the spot.
Yeah, that would be
Trial by
interesting.
fire.
It'd be interesting because production is my background, so I can probably make something like that happen. We'll have to brainstorm it and come up with some ideas, because that's a really cool idea. Lastly, Shawn McDermott in his press conference today, when asked just about the safety group, you know, I don't even know what to make of it. This is another one of those Gabe Davis coming in to visit Buffalo with this current situation of the wide receivers thing, with guys getting healthy and getting rid of Caden Prather. He literally makes the comment, I'm paraphrasing, we're looking for a guy that can play next to Taylor Rapp. And I'm just like, huh?
I think, and I don't know Shawn McDermott so well as to get inside his head, but as somebody who's covered sports for 35 years, and big league sports for 25 plus, I've been around a few head coaches. I don't see Shawn do this much, although he does say things in news conferences where I'm like, oh, but you know, he would call out Brian Daboll's not by name, but he would call out the offense regularly.
Browns game 2019. Browns game 2019. He did it. Yep.
Not run enough. Don't like what I see out there. You know, things like that. And you're like, holy shit. That's the second time I've let a profanity fly. That's okay on this. I mean, I know that you know, okay. I've seen this show enough, but as I'm saying it, you know, I know your co-hosts don't, you know, I think I'm okay.
Yeah. You're fine.
But I am a guest in your home right now, so I just want to be as polite as I can. So you see him do this, but it's not, I mean, maybe there's some examples that aren't coming to mind right away, but that he would say that about his players. This is, you're on notice. This is Lindy Ruff style, especially back, maybe not Lindy Ruff today, because today's players are a little different, but this is the classic Lindy Ruff calling you out in a news conference because he's probably already had the discussion with you, and it's not getting through for whatever reason, or it's not quite enough. And so you've already heard it. You should not be surprised that I'm saying this in a news conference. I'm not stabbing you in the back. We've had this discussion probably repeatedly, and now I am going to intensify this just a little bit more. I'm going to turn the burner up on the stove to 7. You know, maybe it's been at 6. Hell, maybe we need to get to 9, you know, here for you to wake up and get moving here.
Right.
So, I think that's probably what it is. And it's also probably telegraphing that we're going to need to start looking elsewhere. And he said it after the game too. He didn't just say it today. He referenced this after the game. You know, he kept using the phrase, we have to see what we have there, which to me sounds like you're taking inventory. That's not just, I want to look at the film. See what we have there isn't how they performed. It's what we actually have on the roster. That was a roster comment. That wasn't a, how did these guys perform against the Bears comment.
Right.
And so he tipped it off Sunday night, and then he said it again today. So yeah, I think he's pissed off, and I think he is and worried probably that his safety play is not up to snuff. And he knows that these are his guys.
Right.
You know, safety is the position he played in college. It's where the defense goes through the safety almost as much as it does Terrell Bernard. And in some cases, even more so in the pass happy NFL. And if these guys aren't on the same page, like they were not on the Zacchaeus touchdown, you know, they got totally exploited. I mean, look, I know that they're playing with second and third teamers, but Cole Bishop ends up in man-to-man coverage, easy reception, and then on the run, DeMar Hamlin whiffed on the tackle. Right. I mean, that hits Shawn McDermott in his soul. Yeah. To see his safeties play poorly. So, I think that this is him trying to salvage and maybe get a little desperation in a healthy desperation to close out training camp. Let's not anybody think that you have a job or that you have a spot on this roster here as we close in on the last preseason game. We don't have 2 more preseason games. We only have 1. The joint practice is in the rearview mirror. There's really the hard core time for evaluation is kind of behind us.
Right.
There's not much left between now and the season opener on September 7th. So this is his way of I think doing whatever he can to get his guy to get the best and then make an evaluation of what he really has back there.
Having a great conversation with Tim Graham from The Athletic. I've kept you a little bit longer than I told you.
I'm long-winded. We talked about my procedure. We had witch doctor references. This is my fault. I should be apologizing to you.
You're good. I just want to put a bow on that. When you talk about just that safety room, the last thing that Shawn McDermott needs is something repeatable by opposing offenses, and that's a Zacchaeus play that you are referencing. If they can start attacking the middle of this defense, it puts us in a really big bind. But Taylor Rapp, right? And then you've got DeMar Hamlin is a known quantity. They know what they've got with DeMar Hamlin. Cole Bishop is clearly still behind. You watched it in that game. So did I. Cam Lewis is a known entity as well, which I feel like has maybe the potential to move into that spot. I just don't know where you go from here. Like are we literally at this point where we got to find a guy that's going to play next to Taylor Rapp? I mean, it's a little late.
One of the other things that I shuffled here, because I keep a bunch of different things at my desk that who knows I might need on the fly, and it is my 2 deep flip card from the playoff game against the Ravens.
Yeah,
and you're like, well, you remember Mike Edwards? Mike Edwards didn't work out. He was another safety they brought in. They thought was going to do some things and didn't.
He was here for 10 minutes. Yep.
Last year, so the safeties for the last game last year were Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin, as you know. Cam Lewis listed there. Of course, he's also listed at nickelback, and he plays everything. And Cole Bishop. Not much depth there. I mean, they're all back. And
you got a rookie in there they're trying to fit in, right?
And you mentioned DeMar Hamlin. Yes, he's a known quantity doesn't necessarily mean good.
Right, true.
Or satisfactory, I should say.
I think that's where we're at.
DeMar Hamlin is a serviceable NFL player.
Right.
But he has his deficiencies, and the Bills need to improve there. They want to improve at that position. That's where Cole Bishop was supposed to step up, and he hasn't.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's a problem.
Well, Tim, I appreciate the time. We're going to definitely get you back on here 1 or 2 more times while the season goes. I think we rotate you guys so not to wear you out as far as like wear you out on this program, because I know that you guys are super, super busy. And this is, I think, Tuesday is typically your guys' off day, right? Because it's between Monday pressers and Wednesday pressers.
That's right. There was today wasn't today's an off day for me because of what we talked about earlier. So I'm stuck at home, and you got me. I'm a prisoner.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you being here. Any final thoughts before I let you go?
No, I don't think so.
Awesome.
I've really enjoyed this. I enjoy watching your show. I like your co-hosts because I think so often O-line play is a big deficiency with journalists.
Yeah.
Because we can't, and I'm one to say that, and conversely defensive line play. I mean, we've all played catch in the backyard. We know we can look at it and say, wow, what a great catch, right?
Mm-hmm.
How often do we look at it and say, wow, what a slick block that was, or what a clever maneuver? We don't see that stuff. We don't detect it. And so listening to your podcast is educational on top of being entertaining. And I like that when I really enjoy is when you make a comment and there's kind of silence there because they know they've been got. I mean, and it's the great yin and the yang of, yes, you guys did play the game and you know so much more than, but we do, we can ask you a question that might make you think a little bit.
I'm not doing the listenership justice unless, as a fan, I'm bringing, I feel, true fan questions and thoughts and buts at times, playing devil's advocate. So, sometimes they appreciate it, and sometimes you're right. There'll be a little bit of silence, and they'll position and jockey themselves around the question. But it was great having you, Tim. Appreciate it very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning into On the Beat on the Overreaction Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. Yeah, what do we got tomorrow? Wednesday, the Big O show, and then make sure you tune in Saturday for Anthony Marino's pregame show, the walkthrough, and then we'll be back for the postgame show on Saturday night. But for me, for John, for Jerry, and for Tim Graham, appreciate you guys. We love you. Go Bills. Talk to you soon.